When a neighborhood feud over my gentle giant of a dog turns into an unexpected showdown, can Brutus win over the toughest critic, or will chaos reign supreme? Before we begin today's insane story, show some love if you've ever survived a wild Karen meltdown. Drop a like, and let me know your craziest Karen run-in you've had down in the comments. If you're new around here, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss another jaw-dropping showdown. As I stood there on our quiet street, soaking in the sun, the absurdity of Karen's accusation hung in the air like a cat in a tree. Brutus, my lovable pit bull, was blissfully unaware of the storm brewing in Karen's mind as he squinted into the sunlight, probably contemplating the next squirrel he could chase. Too aggressive? I chuckled, trying to suppress a laugh, my laid-back demeanor urging me to find humor in this ridiculous claim. Everybody knew Brutus was about as aggressive as a cotton candy cloud. Karen, are you sure you're not mistaking Brutus for your own reflection? He's got that gentle giant vibe. Just take a look, I added with a flourish, gesturing dramatically toward my pooch, who was currently investigating a particularly inviting piece of grass with all the gusto of a 5-star Michelin chef. But Karen was undeterred, her blue eyes narrowing dangerously as she brandished a piece of paper that looked utterly ludicrous, a bright pink warrant, or should I say, an official notice about my alleged dangerous dog. As if she were judging a pie competition, she swung that paper in my direction with the bravado of a circus ringmaster, announcing, "I have decided to put an end to this menace." "This menace?" I stuttered, fighting back the urge to snort at that point. I glanced at Brutus, who had flopped over onto his back, wagging his tail and inviting belly rubs from anybody who'd have them. In that moment, I realized I had unwittingly found myself in an episode of a sitcom, hilariously miscast as the calm dog dad pitted against the tyrannical pet patrol. Tommy, my burly neighbor, had emerged from his garage just in time to witness Karen's declaration of war. "What's happening here, Ethan?" he quipped, leaning against his toolbox, a sly grin creeping across his face. "Is this some kind of neighborhood play I didn't sign up for?" His casual demeanor was like a breath of fresh air in this brewing storm, and I couldn't help but grin despite the absurdity. "Apparently Brutus is in trouble for his overly friendly disposition," I exclaimed, throwing my hands up in exaggerated disbelief. Tommy chuckled heartily and pushed through the thick tension with one of his classic one-liners. "Karen, I think you might be projecting your inner beast onto Ethan's teddy bear." Somehow, that only fueled Karen's indignation further. "Enough," she snapped, waving the paper like a magician about to reveal their grand illusion. "I'm prepared to take this to the neighborhood council. Do you know how many people this poor pup has scared lately?" Brutus's ears perked up at the sound of puppy park. While I rolled my eyes so far to the back of my head, I thought they might get stuck. If anything, the only one Brutus had ever scared was the inept garbage truck that once struggled up the hill. "Karen, I think you miscalculated how many hearts Brutus has won. Let's say it's a solid 32, including the cat across the street." I responded, hoping my humor would cool her curls back into submission. Unfortunately, sarcasm and reason were rarely effective with Karen, but it was worth a shot, sort of playing poker with a royal flush while she held a pair of twos. As Karen continued her diatribe about the perils of my furry friend, I watched Brutus, whose tongue lolled out in a goofy grin, blithely oblivious to the war of words that ebbed and flowed around us. My heart pounded, both from the adrenaline of confrontation and from the fear that she might actually follow through on this ridiculousness. "You know what?" I declared, channeling all my inner bravado. "If you think there's a problem here, let's take Brutus for a walk around the block. We can do a doggy meet and greet. I'm sure our neighbors will see what a gentle spirit he really is." Tommy erupted in laughter. That's his way of saying, "Let's publicize this circus." With exaggerated glee, I pretended to lead Brutus like a float in a parade, hoping that would diffuse the tense situation and align everyone's priorities, spreading love through canine charm. With my plan in motion, I turned to Karen with a flourish. "What do you say, Karen? How about you join us and see what all this aggression is about? You might learn that pup dogs are more fun than frightening." Her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water as she faltered, sputtering in disbelief. I could practically hear the wheels spinning in her head. limited options presented new challenges. Everyone in the neighborhood loved Brutus. How could she possibly muster a sufficient defense against that? Unbeknownst to me, Tommy raised an eyebrow at her, the eagerness in his grin practically selling tickets to the show. In a twist of fate that would make anyone's jaw drop, Karen found herself begrudgingly nodding. Her fury momentarily paused as she crossed her arms like a petulant child. "Fine," she grumbled, "but I still think he's a menace." Oh, the absurdity of it all. Here we were, Karen reluctantly stepping into the ring for her doggy debut, while Brutus strolled along with the carefreeness only a dog could muster. I wanted to laugh, to cradle this moment in my memories as a trophy from my very own neighborhood debacle. Before long, we would be wrapped up in doggy shenanigans and playful antics, leaving Karen's entitled demands behind. Was it possible that my dog was about to launch a PR campaign to make friends and win over hearts? Only one way to find out. As we embarked on our doggy meet and greet, I mentally prepared for the chaotic spectacle ahead. Brutus, blissfully unaware of the absurdity, lodged like a grenade in our neighborhood, trotted ahead with confidence while I shuffled alongside, internally strategizing how to turn this encounter into a spectacle that even the best reality TV producers would envy. "Hey, Karensaurus Rex," I teased under my breath, glancing sideways at her furrowed brow, trying to stifle giggles. It was going to be hilarious, and if I played my cards right, I might just elevate Brutus from misunderstood dog to neighborhood superstar. Tommy ambled behind me, his leisurely stroll proving he was more than ready to throw in a witty quip or two. "Let's see if Karen has a change of heart or if we need to start an Adopt Brutus's campaign," he chuckled, gazing at Brutus with mock seriousness, as if we were all involved in some dramatic audition. The first stop on our parade was Mrs. Jenkins, an elderly lady whose love for gossip was rivaled only by her affection for baked goods. As we approached her welcoming porch, I couldn't help but remember her reaction the last time she saw Brutus, who had practically melted into her lap for belly rubs. I turned to Karen, who was silently grumbling, her arms still crossed like she was preparing for a stare-down competition. "Ready to make a friend? You might discover he's got more charm than you anticipated," I chirped, making a grand gesturing motion toward Brutus. Karen shot me a look that could peel paint off a wall, but I pushed forward, ringing the doorbell and feeling like I was about to unveil a new breed of dog, the lovable eggplant fur variety that sang lullabies in 5 languages. Mrs. Jenkins peeked out from behind her floral curtains, her smile as warm as the fresh cookies wafting through the air. "Oh dear, is that handsome Brutus I see?" she exclaimed, her joy radiating like a supernova, a joyful star exploding into an expanding cloud of love and cookies. As we stepped inside, Karen reluctantly followed, her heels clicking against the wooden floor like some ominous warning bell. In seconds, Brutus worked his magic, weaving through Mrs. Jenkins's legs and planting his hefty head right into her lap. "Look at that face. He's the sweetest boy," she exclaimed, scratching his belly with fervor. It was a glimpse of what would undoubtedly become one of the most precious memories of my neighborhood's history. Yet Karen's skepticism radiated like a thunderstorm on the horizon. As I basked in the warm glow of the unlikely friendship blossoming before us, I couldn't resist ribbing Karen one more time. "You see, he's not a menace. He's a heartthrob, a resident love machine." I jabbed playfully, glancing at Tommy, who was leaning against the doorframe and suppressing laughter. However, Karen wasn't having it. Her expression remained steadfast, much like a dog with a bone that simply refuses to let go. "This is just one person. You can't expect me to believe that every neighbor will be as blind as her," she snapped, her disdain making me wonder if she woke up each day slathered in lemon juice and vinegar. I mean, who knew neighborhood relations could get so spicy? "You're practically the resident sitcom villain," I smirked, feeling buoyed by the energy that surrounded me, but still precariously aware that Karen remained stubbornly glued to her argumentative stance. With Mrs. Jenkins thoroughly entranced with Brutus, I decided it was the perfect time to hit up our next stop, Cynthia next door, a sassy yoga instructor with a chihuahua named Sprout who reigned like a king with a floral crown. As we walked, I caught Karen's frown making a path across her face, the gears in her head visibly churning from pure disdain mixed with bewilderment. By the time we reached Cynthia's door, I had deliberately painted a vivid scenario in my mind. High fives, mini yoga sessions with dog poses, maybe even a group pet therapy session that might convert Karen into a puppy-loving pacifist. But lo and behold, Cynthia's holler from inside the house announced our arrival with unfiltered enthusiasm. "Is that Brutus I hear? Bring him in. Sprout needs a playdate." Cynthia opened the door with her lively spirit, and after one glance at Brutus, her face lit up brighter than the 4th of July. But as soon as the furry giant padded in, Sprout lost all pretense of dexterity, launching himself from his gazelle-like perch directly onto Brutus's face like a fluffy missile. "Whoa there, Sprout! Be gentle," Cynthia called out, but it was too late. Brutus merely turned his head, wide-eyed, as if he were saying, "Seriously? Is this how my reputation is taking a hit today?" In an instant, I could tell that not only was a bond forming between them, but Brutus was winning over hearts faster than a puppy racing across a field of daisies. It was absurd. So absurd it felt like Brutus was about to go viral on PawTube, every click being an explosion of love against Karen's impending crusade. I caught Karen rolling her eyes again, but this time, a hint of uncertainty flickered across her face. Did Mrs. Jenkins and Cynthia's adoration for Brutus really begin to chip away at her ridiculous ideas? Perhaps I had stumbled upon the golden ticket, a heartwarming journey showing the self-appointed watchdog of the neighborhood that being a community is all about love and connection. How about a yoga session? I winked, half joking, half serious. I could see the absurdity of getting Karen on a yoga mat in the undefined abyss surrounding Brutus. The bond seemed to sparkle in the room, and for a brief, glorious moment, I envisioned Karen finally shrug off those preposterous ideas. Wouldn't it be something if Brutus could tame the beast that had terrorized our block for too long? The rising tension was only making me all the more enthusiastic about our next stop. Would ignorance be bliss, or would we transform my dog from the perceived menace into the uplifting hero of the neighborhood? As Brutus engaged in what could only be described as an Olympic-level wrestling match with the feisty Sprout, I took a moment to survey the scene. It couldn't be more ridiculous if it tried. Cynthia was crouched down, arms flailing dramatically, attempting to pull her tiny tornado off Brutus's face, while simultaneously offering an impromptu lesson on gentle play. Meanwhile, Karen's expression morphed from skepticism to utter disbelief, her crossed arms now teetering on the brink of dropping to her sides in resignation. "Is this your idea of being aggressive?" she muttered, an incredulous glint flashing in her eyes. I thought, "Oh, honey, if only you knew the wild side of my gentle giant." Tommy couldn't contain his laughter, his rich guffaws echoing through the room, transforming a mundane afternoon into a full-blown comedy show that neither of us could have scripted better. Once Sprout finally relinquished control and returned to his royal perch, there was a notable shift in energy. "You see, Karen?" I chimed in, my voice dripping with playful sarcasm. "Brutus the fearsome monster is now my gentle giant, reigning supreme over the kingdom of Chihuahuadom. Scenario analysis. If the mighty Sprout can't rattle him, I think we can retire your dangerous dog theory." Just as I delivered my mic drop moment, Cynthia, with booming laughter, added, "Come on, Karen, join in. We're doing dog yoga next, and I think it might just stretch those frowning muscles into a smile." Karen looked caught between the absurdity of the situation and her stubborn resolve, like a cat considering the jump from a cozy chair to a suspicious floor. Was she truly contemplating joining in on our canine yoga retreat? I watched closely, half expecting her to spring into karate moves. Cynthia's infectious enthusiasm crackled through the room like static electricity, and I was convinced somehow she could glue Karen's pieces back together with love, laughter, and a sprinkle of puppy magic. What if the uproarious laughter, the playful chaos of dog wrestling and stretchy yoga, melted away Karen's defenses bit by bit? Wouldn't it be the ultimate twist if she transformed from dog hater to Brutus's biggest fan? Talking about twists, just as I was about to present the idea of a Brutus fan club, I noticed Karen's brows unfurl slightly, a twitch almost resembling curiosity painted across her stern features. Okay, she sighed, dramatically rolling her eyes at the spectacle. "Just how exactly do you think your dog is this? Soft-hearted, He just tackled another dog. Oh, sweet irony. Was she warming up? Could it be that Brutus was finally breaking through Karen's thick, stubborn shell? Feeling daring, I pointed at Brutus, who was now blissfully rolling on the floor, inadvertently inviting Sprout for yet another full contact bout. Oh yeah? That's aggression all right, I mused. My dog's just trying to express his gratitude for not having to defend his honor with the likes of you. You see, he's not just a pretty face and big paws. He's a professional cuddler in disguise. It's a tough gig. Tommy elbowed me, fully on board with the comedic banter, as he quipped, I dare you to take on the puppy play champion title, Karen. Think of it as an initiation. The entire room erupted with laughter. Even Karen couldn't quite suppress the corners of her mouth from twitching into something resembling a smirk, if only for a fleeting second. As a plan emerged in my mind, I quickly summoned the audacity to suggest a neighborhood event, a Brutus meet and greet extravaganza. All the furry friends and their humans coming together for a rendezvous of delightful chaos to showcase Brutus's undeniable charm. Suddenly, I felt the heat of inspiration, an opportunity to convert skepticism into support. What if we invited everyone? I clapped my hands, strategically swaying Brutus into the spotlight, as if he were the headliner for a rock concert. We could have doggy treats, games, and a puppy kissing booth. Oh wait, I hear bulldogs make excellent lip service providers. And Karen, you could set up a booth too. Call it Consult the Neighborhood Enforcer. How to not lose your cool with adorable dogs. I winked, and the thought made me chuckle uncontrollably. Could Karen ever entertain the idea of putting down her metaphorical judge's gavel in an event of levity? Kevin looked like a deer caught in headlights, pinched between disbelief and astonishment. You are absolutely out of your mind. A puppy extravaganza? That's a ridiculous thought. Yet as soon as the words left her lips, I noticed a slight brightness in her eyes. Little by little, new ideas were blossoming within her. Maybe there was a spark of amusement hiding beneath the flinty exterior. Tommy nudged me. Why not? Could be fun. And who knows? You might even end up liking Brutus. I could hear a faint grumbling escape from her, but the gears in her mind were clearly turning faster than I could have imagined. Was there a chance we might witness an unlikely alliance, forged from forepaws, laughter, and an irresistible spirit? Honestly, the stakes had never felt higher in my wacky journey of neighborhood diplomacy. Would bravery lead us to laughter, or would it hide behind Karen's thick shell? The suspense was unbearable. Thus, I volunteered to organize the event, rallying the neighborhood warriors to dress their pups in glamorous costumes and practice their best tricks, while I made big poster boards destined to flaunt Brutus's undeniable charisma. Yet, would Karen take the bait? Or would she make like a couch potato watching a baking show and deny her involvement? I was buoyed by the playful sense of possibility knitted through the evening's laughter and antics. With Karen, armed with her fake warrant, buzzing in the background, you never knew when her next move could shatter sanity or transform into a jubilant family affair. It was a shining moment in my tumultuous neighborhood life that resonated with the hope that love might just conquer all, including a dog phobia or two. Bring it on, I thought. Let's turn the bizarre battle of Brutus versus Karen into an unforgettable saga. The very next day, fueled by the ambitious spark of my Brutus meet and greet extravaganza, I sprang into action like a caffeine-fueled squirrel. First stop? Flyers? Armed with a rainbow of colored paper and a set of markers that would make any toddler weep with joy, I commandeered Tommy's garage. Welcome to the artistry of canine diplomacy, I proclaimed, channeling my inner Da Vinci while doodling hyper-realistic pictures of Brutus snoozing peacefully, accompanied by words like affection, cuddles, and kiss your fears goodbye. My attempts at convincing every dog owner in the neighborhood to participate included a healthy mix of bribery, like promising free treats to their furry companions, and a couple of well-timed puppy dog eyes from Brutus himself, who by now had taken on the role of the gentle giant ambassador. With flyers glued haphazardly on every obtainable surface, I set out on a grassroots campaign to ensure attendance. By the time I knocked on Karen's door, I felt like a door-to-door salesperson with a slightly overzealous agenda. I could practically hear the dramatic music in my head announcing my arrival. When Karen swung the door open, She looked like she'd just discovered a cockroach in her cereal, mouth agape and eyes narrowing to slits. "Ethan?" she queried, managing to sound like she was asking if I had come to burn down her house instead of inviting her to a fun gathering. In full no-nonsense Karen mode, her arms were crossed, mirroring the equally assertive stance of her infamous minivan. "Oh, Karen, perfect timing," I exclaimed, waving a flyer enthusiastically as if it were the last slice of pizza at a party. "I'm organizing an epic dog event, and I need you on board. We're going to have dog costumes, competitions, and oh, don't forget the puppy kissing booth. It's going to be like the Coachella of dog gatherings." Cue Tommy, who appeared from behind a bush like a lumberjack superhero, ready to back me up. "And you can run a booth to educate owners on proper, well, non-aggressive behavior, whatever that means," I added, shooting her my most charming grin as if it could pierce the armor of her disdain. Karen peered down at the flyer, then back at my face, her eyebrows knitting tighter than a hipster's fixed gear bike. "Really, Ethan? You think this ridiculous scheme will make a difference?" she shot back. There was a moment of tension hanging between us, thick enough to slice with a butter knife. However, right on cue, Brutus, sensing his cue, bolted over and positioned himself on her foot, looking up at her with eyes so big and watery, they rivaled the most dramatic soap opera scene ever filmed. "See, there's your answer. Brutus is all about love and bonding. Just give him a chance," I half yelled, half begged, as Tommy stifled his laughter behind a nearby shrub, unsuccessfully masking his snickers. Miraculously, Karen's expression softened, if only by a sliver. "I'll think about it," she finally huffed, the words slipping out like hard candy from a stubborn wrapper. I could see her brain doing gymnastics, contemplating if she could maneuver through the ridiculousness that was my extravagant doggy playdate, while trying to maintain her stern persona. "But don't expect me to wear a hot dog costume," she added defiantly. But just like that, I spotted a glimmer of humanity flickering in her cold blue eyes. Yes, it was time to turn the tides of our neighborhood war. Dealing with Brutus's burgeoning fame would be a piece of cake compared to managing her pretentious rules. As the days crept closer to the extravaganza, the anticipation grew unabated. Flyers filled mailboxes, and gossip-mongering dog owners began buzz-marketing the event like it was a secret flavor of gelato the world was begging to discover. The conversations at the local coffee shop buzzed with schemes for outfits and rumors about that crazy pit bull owner who wanted to save the world one deadly kiss at a time. Tommy, ever the creative consultant, conjured the brilliant idea of renaming the event, dubbing it Brutus's Bizarre Dog Day of Glory, with an unforgettable name that could very well be the title of a cult classic movie. The excitement escalated like a Scooby-Doo chase scene, and I could practically feel the energy pulsating in the air. The day had arrived, rippling with potential, laughter, and canine chaos as I set up like a mad scientist at the local park. The scent of freshly baked doggy treats wafted through the air, while tail-wagging furries darted about like they were auditioning for a lead role in a rom-com. The doggy kissing booth was a roaring success, with Brutus making rounds and smothering the lucky people with slobbery affection. Soon enough, the first frantic barks echoed as dogs rushed forward, drawn in by the collective scent of adorableness. It was like watching a mini army of furry soldiers. Yet my heart raced with anticipation, longing to spot that elusive Karen. Would she show up? Would Brutus really bask in the glow of a victory filled with laughter? As I turned away from the fray, I heard a gasp that sent a jolt of excitement racing down my spine. "No way," I mumbled incredulously as I spotted her, Karen, in full-on superhero mode, complete with a customized t-shirt donning the phrase, "Dog lover and proud." There she stood, hands on her hips, mingling with the crowd, while a golden retriever bounced at her feet, clearly befriending her. Was this the same woman who had sworn Brutus was too aggressive just a week ago? I almost dropped the big birthday cake made of dog treats. I was about to smash for Brutus as my jaw hit the ground. Was this the outcome of all my hopeful daydreaming? With a sudden burst of energy, I raced towards her, excitement oozing from my smile like a kid on a sugar rush. Could it be? Was this Karen's transformation into an unlikely ally? This was shaping up to be the most thrilling chapter of my saga yet. With my jaw still hanging uncomfortably near the grassy earth, I approached Karen like I was walking on a tightrope made of spaghetti. This couldn't be happening. I quickened my pace and finally found my voice, or at least something resembling it. "Karen, is that really you?" I half shouted over the joyous ruckus of sniffing snouts and enthusiastic tail flicks, trying to wrap my brain around the sight before me. The stern matriarch of our neighborhood, the self-appointed enforcer, was grinning like a Cheshire cat amidst a sea of excited doggos. She looked genuinely happy. The golden retriever at her feet leaned in with a wagging tail and an enthusiasm matched only by Brutus himself. "Ethan," she shouted back, her voice oozing confidence and newfound camaraderie, "you wouldn't believe how much fun this is." Just when I thought the plot couldn't twist any stranger, my mind flashed back to all the times Karen had stomped around like the neighborhood's designated Grinch. Yet, here she was, an advocate for dog love gathering alongside flocks of frolicking Fidos. I felt like I was in an alternate universe where Karen had magically transformed into a dog-loving goddess. I never expected to see you here," I stuttered, internally slapping myself for sounding so stunned. Light-hearted laughter from nearby dog owners filled the air as she eagerly joined me in the chaos, investigating the booths filled with colorful Bansana wearing pups and treats I'd never dare name in polite company. I couldn't help but laugh at the ridiculousness of this situation. Who had cast this bizarre spell on our neighborhood queen bee? As I glanced around, I turned my attention to the increasingly popular kissing booth. Brutus had become a superstar, tackling puppy love with the enthusiasm of a disturbingly affectionate celebrity. "If you're looking for wet puppy kisses, you've found your fella," I exclaimed, gesturing grandly to my furry companion, who seemed to know he was the star of the show. It was impossible to ignore the joyful squeals of people as Brutus slobbered on them, weaving through the crowd, his tail whipping back and forth like a flag of peace. Miraculously, I glimpsed Karen standing nearby, her foot tapping to an invisible beat as she threw her head back in laughter at one pup's failed attempt to execute a spectacular leap. Could this be the day we finally overcame the Karen versus Ethan saga? Could it be that dog magic had done the trick? Before I could indulge in my dreams of world peace through poodle prancing, I was interrupted by Tommy, who joined me and clapped me on the back. "Dude, do you see what's happening?" He gestured grandly to Karen, who was now enthusiastically holding up some of the handmade dog treats I'd baked at home. Don't ask how many burnt bottoms there were, trying to impress a small gaggle of kids that had approached her. Watching the scene felt like witnessing the ultimate plot twist unfold before my eyes. "Are you kidding? This is definitely the stuff of fairy tales, or maybe a really strange sitcom," I replied, shaking my head in disbelief. Tommy snorted, then turned serious. "You ought to get in on this, man. She could become your secret weapon against the Karen-ness of the world, right?" I couldn't help but laugh at the thought. With an almost theatrical flair, I decided to dive right in, feeling bold enough to reclaim the narrative. "Hey Karen, you should join us at the kissing booth. Show everyone how fun and friendly you've become. Or do you just want to keep being the queen of kooky?" My tone was lighthearted, but I was genuinely curious to hear her response. To my surprise, she didn't even flinch. Instead, she grinned, clearly reveling in her recent transformation. "Well, why not? It's about time I spread the love," she said, wearing that ridiculous but charming dog lover shirt proudly as she ambled toward the booth. As Karen descended upon the laughing throng, I had to stifle an incredulous laugh. The neighborhood dynamics were shifting, and it was all thanks to our doggos. I joined her at the booth, ready to embrace whatever wild adventures the day had left in store. As I watched her come to life, joking and sharing the booth with Brutus, I realized perhaps Karen wasn't just the aggressor anymore, but a potential ally in my crusade for canine camaraderie. Maybe there was potential for redemption in everyone, even Karen, the one who supposedly tried to confiscate my very beloved dog. With thoughts racing like the yapping hounds around us, I knew one thing for sure. This was just the beginning of my adventures, and I smirked at the chaos our neighborhood would churn out next. Would Karen and I become besties through dog diplomacy? Or would an unforeseen twist stir the pot again? Would the excitement of Brutus's bizarre day lead to a neighborhood revolution of silliness? Only time would tell, and oh, how I was ready for it. Thanks for tuning into this insane entitled Karen story. If you're craving more wild Karen showdowns, check out our video on the right. Or if you trust YouTube's instincts, pick the one on the left. Whichever you choose, brace yourself. There's plenty more meltdown madness where today's story came from.